Hello, hello to my friends from America, and hello to my friends from India, all over the world. So today we will be discussing how to ace .NET Architect interview. The purpose of this workshop is not to give you some ready-made answers for the interview. First, let me give my introduction. My name is Vikas Kerni, and I have been in IT for more than 20 years. I have worked on all major versions of .NET. I have attended and conducted thousands of .NET interviews. So idea behind this workshop is not to give you some ready-made answers, but also to give you some tips, strategies, to give you when somebody is asking a question, what is he is looking behind, why he's asking this question, and also when we are giving you answers, we are going to go in deep in .NET technology, in REST API, ASP.NET. So we are going to go into deep into design, architecture, all the aspects. So let's start our workshop now. So what are the topics we are going to cover? The first topic we are the first topic we are going to cover is dependency injection. So this is very important question. Last time, uh, Aditya, can you see my PowerPoint presentation?
No, not yet. Your face is visible.
Okay. Okay, I didn't share. So can you see my screen before?
Yes, now I can see .NET Architect interview.
Thank you. I'm just checking my video. You see the PowerPoint, right?
Right, yes.
Okay. Okay. So first we will go into dependency injection. So if you can answer this question, you got the interview. Most of the time I have seen a lot of interviews, one question which very few people can answer. And if you give this answer to this question correctly, you got the interview. What is dependency injection? We will go into dependency injection a little bit later. Then RESTful APIs are very popular. A lot of questions you are going to be asked about RESTful APIs. Then we will discuss AS. We are going to do a lot of hands-on exercises on a lot of concepts. So then we will discuss MVC, ASP.NET MVC. So we'll discuss the overall structure. What is ASP.NET MVC? Then we'll talk about C# core concepts. Also, so we'll go into some aspects of object-oriented programming and what are the database questions you can be asked as a C#.NET developer. And finally, if you answer all these questions, finally, the person may ask you about architecture and design questions. That we will go later. So let's start with what is dependency injection. So in dependency injection, One strategy I will give you is a lot of time if some question is being asked in multiple interviews, is there's no shame in to cram some standard answers. So what you can do is you can remember the good reply and you can cram like when I used to go interview initially, I thought it's wrong to cram the definitions. It's okay to cram the definitions as long you can explain the usage. So what is dependency injection? Generally, the typical definition is like you're supplying objects to the dependent objects. So basically, if one object, it needs logging object. So it doesn't, in dependency injection, it doesn't create the logging object itself. You supply the logging object to to it. So what is the benefit of dependency injection? The benefit of dependency injection is there's a loosely coupled architecture. What does that mean? So generally in g- so generally the arch so generally the architecture of the application is you have presentation layer, you have business layer, and you have a data layer. So good practice is you need to have a dependency injection between presentation layer and business layer and data layer. The benefit of that is uh, when you introduce interfaces between the layers, you are lightly coupling the interface. So tomorrow you can change to suppose your today web tier, your implementation is using Angular technology. So you can change to React tomorrow without changing the business layer or data layer. At the same time, tomorrow your database changes. You are using SQL Server, you move to Oracle. So using dependency injection, you can change your database without affecting your uh, business layer and web tier. Another benefit of using dependency injection is we can write unit test. So for example, business layer, you can mock the database access layer and you can write your unit test against your business layer. So that makes sure that you focus on writing only your test. You write clean code. You are able to test without worrying about the dependencies. So I will go into the scope a little bit later. Let me let's do a hands-on exercise. Let me open up Visual Studio. So let's create a new project. We will create a web API project. I will name it Web Application 4. Yes, let's use the Docker. We are going to use .NET 8.0. I'm creating the project. So here's my controller. So this is the controller which came out of the box. Let me create my own controller. We'll call API with rewrite actions.
I'm able to see only this YouTube screen. I'm not able to see Visual Studio screen.
Oh, from the
Are you opening Visual Studio screen or?
one good, thank you. Let me fix it. I didn't share the screen. Do you see Visual Studio now?
I still know. Yes, now I can see.
Thank you. Thank you, Aditya. So as I discussed, I started a new application. It's a web API project. So it came with some template controllers. So let me, I'm giving a demonstration of web API. Let me add a controller. I will call it company controller. I have Code installed, so guys gonna see a lot of magic of Code.
Okay.
So company controller is created, and I'm going to talk about this. What are these verbs? Little bit later when we will go into the web API. So let's uh, run it. You should run this application. Okay, Swagger came. Here's our company controller with our get, post, get, put methods, delete methods. Let me kill this window.
This Swagger removed the uses of Postman and
Very true.
completely.
Very true. The benefit of Postman is you can save your input
Yes,
payloads.
yes.
So company controller, let me create a class. Let's create a interface I call iCompany. And it returns a name. Let's create another class. We will call it Toyota Company. Okay, which it returns the name Toyota Company name. And let's add another class. We will call it Honda. So I have Code installed on my machine. So a lot of magic you guys gonna see from Code. It's writing a lot of code for me. So after uh, these are so I have created an interface company and two companies. And let me go to my controller here. create a method, and so I have created a constructor which is taking interface iCompany. Let's go to programs. Just add singleton. So I am singleton adding company. Let's add Toyota company. So, so let me run this application. We did not override the method. So company, let's change it to string, and our interface will provide the name. So Toyota. So what did I do is, let me quickly tell you what did I do. So I created an interface called iCompany, and I created two implementation. One is Toyota company, which it just has a name and returns, oh, I am Toyota company. And another one is Honda company, and it just returned the name. So then next thing I did is I went to controller. Using controller dependency, I declared the iCompany interface, and so ASP.NET is automatically inject the object into this controller. So how does it know which object it needs to inject into this constructor? That we declared in our program.cs. So here we told them add singleton. I'll come to know what is a singleton, what is transient. There are three types: singleton, scope, and singleton, and transient. So we added one iCompany, Toyota company. So this is how ASP.NET gives dependency injection out of the box. So our ASP.NET dependency injection framework knows all everywhere where constructor is taking iCompany, it need to replace it with Toyota company. So that's the execution we change. So tomorrow we want to change the company implementation to Honda. Instead of Toyota, we want to give all the work to Honda. So what you do is you replace it with Honda. This did we name is Honda. Okay, let me run it now. Okay, now we are getting Honda here because all we
Okay,
did is
great.
we just changed the object registration class in the program.cs, and AS we just changed the registration of class with the interface here. So ASP.NET Dependency Framework knows that it has to wherever this interface is declared, it has to provide a object of this Honda class. So previously, this is beauty of .NET Core. Before that, you have to use some third-party dependency injection, or you have to implement your own dependency injection. So this is how the dependency injection works. So as one popular question is, there are three type of objects you can create: singleton, scope, and transient. Let me share a video where I'll explain what is the differences between three types of life scope, three objects life scope.
So this is one question can I ask?
Sure, sure.
So this add singleton, add transient, and add scope. These are the only three ways which .NET Core supports dependency injections.
That is correct, Aditya. That's how.
Hmm.
So let me show you a video. So that you can see the video.
Yes, I can see the video.
Okay.
Voice is not coming. Then
So yeah, I will be speaking. So there are,
okay,
as I
okay.
discussed, there are three types: transient, scope, and singleton. So I have this video on my YouTube channel, but okay. So what is transient scope? So I'll give you an example. Suppose your website is doing some order processing. So you have some order processing online system. So what happens is, there you get a order, you receive the order, then you check inventory and process the order. And same way, you got another order, you receive the order, you check inventory, and you process the order. We can see there are two requests here. So suppose you are doing logging. So when you receive the order, a new instance of log will be created. So you have one. Then check inventory, there will be new ilog will be created. And process order, new log object will be created. So one request has three ilog objects. And order two, again same way, you have you receive the order, new log object, check inventory, new, and process orders, you will have new object. So two requests and you have six log objects. So this is transient. Transient is very temporary. As the processing is done, the object is gone. What is scoped? In scope, we'll take the same example. Request one, you receive the order, you check the inventory, and you process the order in one request. Same at the same time, you got another order, you receive the order, you check the inventory, process the order. In this case, only one object will be created per request. So order one just creates one ilog and shares for all three steps. Order two will create a another instance of log object. So totally two log objects are created when you use scoped one. So let's see singleton. Singleton again will take the same example, processing order system. You receive the order, you check inventory, and you process the order. You receive the order, you got the same order at the same time. So when you say singleton, ilog will have one ilog will be declared globally, and you will be using this global variable. So if you come from classic ASP, you remember we used to have a application object, which was a global object. So in this scenario, only one object will be created. So generally, you use transient or most of the times I use transient or sometimes scoped. So any question, Aditya?
No. So like singleton is very similar to static class also because it
Yes,
also
yes, yes,
shares one
yes.
object also. So can
Very
we
true.
discuss
Yes, Aditya.
difference between the static? Can we discuss? Can you bit explain uh, this static class and singleton difference?
Singleton static class is given by .NET Core. This is
Which are it?
the means that comes from the .NET Core framework, static variables, which basically
Mm-hmm.
stay in the memory forever. This is more dependency injection related, framework related. So like
Okay.
when you come the request in ASP.NET, you think there is no concept of static variables, right? Means there is a static in the sense like backend you can save some values in the static variables, whereas dependency injection comes, it doesn't have any concept of static. So this is a dependency injection way of implementing some object at the static level, so application level. Make sense, Aditya? So this is static
Yes.
variables from dependency injection framework.
And okay.
So
And we also
dependency
cannot
injection is
achieve
maintaining the
dependency.
framework. In static, when you declare something static variables, you are responsible. Okay, that variable is static, and you have to get rid of when you don't need. Whereas the dependency injection is controlling the lifetime of these objects. So that's how they come into picture, Aditya. Good.
Great. Thank
So we covered dependency injection. What is dependency injection? We saw example, and we discussed what are the different scopes, transient, what transient means, what singleton means, and what scope means. So next
you. Sir, I
question
have
is
one
sure,
related to dependency injection. Can we go back to the Visual Studio?
sure.
So, sir, here you have used this add singleton, add transient, and add scope for
Mm-hmm.
dependency injection.
Mm-hmm.
Suppose we have one layer, BAL layer, business application layer. So we can take the reference here in our main application, and we can use dependency injection. Like you told, and dependency injection helps to achieve loosely coupled. And you told we can differentiate between data access layer to business layer. So there we don't have program.cs file. So how we can achieve
Everything
between
you will be declaring here, even
everything?
yeah, even business layer also, all the declaration you will do
Okay,
here.
okay, sir.
Make sense?
Yeah, maximum.
Suppose like let's say I add a new, so I add in, let me add a new project, a class library, the .NET Core
Mm,
class library. I think, yeah. So let me, this is a business layer. Let me add a business layer. So let get salary calculator. Okay. So this is the interface. Okay.
yes, okay,
Let's
sir.
So I'm creating another class called temp employee salary calculator. I did not name cell.
Yes, I.
Okay. Okay, that problem. So Aditya, how I will declare is I'll come to here
Okay. Yes.
and builder services I salary. Like I to add dependency. Um,
It seems I salary calculator
okay,
is not.
using where's my using I salary
So
calculator.
it's not added.
No, naming. This is how I will add.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yes, makes sense. And one question, sir, if now, sir, this our this program.cs will not contain data access layer uh, reference, or it can contain. If
It
we want to connect ByRef to dial, then
generally that's how you
our
do it, right? You will end up adding reference here also, data access layer.
okay. Okay, so makes sense. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So next question, lot of questions are going to come about web APIs. So one popular question is what are the popular verbs in web API? So as you saw, like we created a company controller. So there are get methods, uh, there is post, put, and delete. So what they do, get is mostly you get some uh, get is about queries. Post generally you add the it's about doing CRUD operation. Post does the if you need to add some record to the database, you will use post. Put is done more to update some record. As you can see, they ID, which the primary key is there, and delete is delete you want to delete something in the database. Let me go back to my PowerPoint. So what is the difference between REST versus RESTful? REST is the architecture and RESTful is you write web APIs which follow REST constraints. What is the difference between REST versus SOAP? Again, you can memorize the definitions. REST is the architectural style where you use HTTP verbs and it you receives returns payload request response in JSON XML format. SOAP when web services came initially, there was a SOAP protocol, and this is how the SOAP protocol looks like. You can see it's very, very bulky, but it gives you a lot of
Mm.
security, more security options than uh, our web services, but RESTful services give you. So endpoints, what are the endpoint? Endpoint is like everything, these are the endpoints, which they are taking request and returning some responses. Another question is, what is the difference between put versus patch? So what is the difference between put and patches? I took this example from Stack Overflow. In put, you update the whole record. You can see you are updating username and email. So that is the whole thing. Whereas in patch, you can update only single element. Like here, he is updating only the email. So put, you update the whole record. Whereas patch, you update only certain elements. So there could be some scenario like company name you cannot change, but you can change the company address. So in that scenario, this will come handy. Any questions so far?
And so via patch we can achieve partial modification for our object.
Yes, yes. So authentication or versus authorization. So one question could be how you use securities in RESTful APIs. So generally in RESTful APIs, you get some token. You get some token from some central services, and basically you authenticate and authorize that token. Also in our company, like we are using a public private key. We are basically whoever calls, he has to provide a key to use our web APIs. So one popular question is, what is the difference between authentication versus authorization? Authentication is when you log in, you give your username and password. Authentication is, I am logging in as Vikas Kerni into some website. I'm really Vikas Kerni. So the authentication is finding who I am. And generally they use some Active Directory or Azure Active Directory to verify the user is a real user. Whereas authorization is, once I have been authenticated, I'm Vikas Kerni. What are the applications I have access to? I may have access to some inventory applications. I may not have access to sales. I may belongs to inventory department, not to the sales department. So that is authorization. So let's do another hands-on exercise. What is ASP.NET MVC? How does it works? And let's do another hands-on exercise. Aditya, you can see my.
Yes, Visual Studio screen I can see.
Let's start a new project. I'll use the same name. .NET 8. Yeah. Enable Docker. This one, it open. Let me try one more. Some more. New project. Yeah, let me try more traditional one. So it's more traditional. We have controllers. In MVC, MVC is the architecture style, which stands for Model View Controller. So model is generally business objects. Controller are like they get the first access. Like when you send a request, Controller get the request, it authenticate, authorizes, and based on that, it decides what is the information it's going to pull from the database, and then select a view. Let's do a quick example. Let me add a new model, product. So I created a product with three properties: ID, name, and price. Let me rename as product, and let me add a controller. Name it as product controller. List of. So I'm creating a list of products. These are the three products. Uh, GitHub has written a lot of code for me. The next is I'm going to details.
So you are using a paid version of Copilot or temporary one?
What's your question, Aditya?
You are using Copilot licensed version or
License
a
version.
free version?
I have a personal license.
Okay.
So let's add new folder, product. So view, let's use, we can create a list of products. View for showing a list of products. So here is our per product. So let me rename it as list. Let me add on one more view for details. Okay, I generated two view page. Now let's go to router. So instead of home, I want product list to be shown. Let's run our applications. Index was not found. Oh, we as list. Let me rename as index. So here's the list of the products we created. Let's see details. So here it's showing the details. It didn't pick up the ID. Yes, ID. It didn't pick up the ID. So this is our basic ASP.NET MVC site. So as we discussed, as I told you, like MVC is a architecture. First, the control comes to the controller. Let's see. Let me put a breakpoint. So first, the control comes to the controller. And then it selects the view for us. So one popular question is how you handle exceptional handling. In so for exceptional handler, it's saying go to home error. So this is where you can set up your exceptional handling. So Aditya, any question on MVC? Like MVC became very popular. Again, it lightly couples your business layer to view, gives you more control, makes writing
Mhm.
test against your controller business layer more easy. Yeah, Aditya, any
Okay.
questions?
Mm. It is a great session.
Cool.
Mhm.
So C sharp core concepts. What is Lambda expression? So like, let me show you one more hands-on exercise. I have recorded this one. So like initially when you have to declare some function on the fly, they came with anonymous methods. For example, this function square, you have to declare as delegate int x and it's returning x into x. So 5 into 5, it's going to return 25. So you can see anonymous function, you have to use a lot of syntax. With delegate, is like with delegate, you can simplify this one. All you have to give equal, greater than, equal to greater than, and you're done. So it's a very, uh, it's yeah, say compact. You don't have to write so many extra code. Extension methods. So a lot of time I used to ask this question like in string class, can you add your own method to string class? The answer is yes. Using extension method, you can add. So garbage collection. Uh, Garbage collection, I'll go a little bit later. I have a slide on this. Ref versus out. So when you send a variable by reference, the variable can change. Whereas when you send by out, variable changes inside the function. So we'll also come to a little bit later. Another question I used to ask everybody is string versus string builder. And Aditya, there was that point like before this Angular and Angular React became popular. If somebody
Mhm.
didn't answer this question, I never used to hire anybody. String versus string
Okay.
builder. So that tells me you don't know about .NET Core, you don't know about object-oriented programming. So basically, string is immutable. When you are creating
Mm-hmm.
string, it creates a new instance of the string. So
New
suppose you
instance.
are building some long string inside a loop. You are building some web page on the fly, and so it can create thousand strings, which can create a lot of memory inefficiency. Whereas string builder is builder make sure whenever you're concatenating too many strings, it doesn't create a new instance of the string. It keeps updating the same instance in the memory. It's more efficient.
Yes.
So what is garbage collection? So garbage collection, if you are not if you before C sharp, there was C++. In C++, you have to manage memory yourself. You have to make sure you have to allocate memory for your variables, and then you have to deallocate memories. If you don't deallocate memories, it used to create a lot of problems, it used to create a lot of out of memory exceptions. So .NET Core has taken away this problem for us. So whenever we need some memory, it creates the memory on the managed heap. And whenever it goes under stress, it goes to the heap and cleans up the memory. So in the memory, if there are objects, if nobody is using them, so it just removes them from that memory, and our programs can use. So generally, uh, all the short-lived objects lives in generation one. So generate if there are some objects which are being still used it's doing a garbage collection. Basically, it's trying to find out all the objects in generation one, which it cannot clean. If it cannot clean, it will move to generation two. Either it will remove it from the memory, I'll put in generation two, and then next time it runs, if this object is still being used, it will put in generation 3 queue. Generation 3 queue is more like the static variables. So
Yeah.
these variables will stay in the application forever. Generally, generation 3, it doesn't clean. So this is how garbage collection works. Any question on that, Aditya?
Mm, yes, yes.
Then a lot of people tricky question ask if .NET CLR is doing uh, managing memory for you, why you get out of memory exceptions? The answer is .NET CLR only take cares about managed objects,
Mm,
whereas there are unmanaged objects like database connection, file handle, you have some stream object opens. So those objects you have to clean it up, otherwise they can create out of memory exception for you. So how do you release unmanaged resources? And the thing is, you have to use the using keyword. Using keyword, make sure that dispose method or close method is called. So ByRef, by values. By when you send some parameter by value, it doesn't change the value variable value in the main method. Whereas in when you send a variable value by ref, the value can change. String versus string builder we discuss. So another interesting question is, what is the difference between dispose versus finalize? Aditya, you have been asked this question. Dispose
yes,
versus
yes, yes. This
okay.
this question has been asked.
So basically, these methods are used to clean up unmanaged resources. So finalize happens when garbage collection is about to remove the object from the memory, whereas dispose is uh, you implement iDispose interface, and when you call close method, the object is removed from the memory. So finalize is non-deterministic because you don't know when the garbage collection will run and clean up the object. So you should never put clean up code in finalize. If you have to get rid of some connection, file handler, streams, you make sure you use the using call. You call the close method or you declare use the using keyword. What does sleep do in multi-threading environment? In multi-threading scenario, sleep puts the thread in sleep for some time, as the name says. It put its suspended mode. It's sleeping for some time before it does something. What does lock do in multi-threading environment? Suppose you use locking to handle racing condition. Suppose you have some application variable, like some you have some counter number of some application number, some it's like some global variable. So you want to make sure that only one current thread can access that variable. So you lock the thread to make sure only one thread is using updating that variable at the one time. Entity framework. Entity framework is ORM, object relation mapper. So basically this framework takes your object and saves to the database, take all the database operations for you. So one popular question is, did you use code first or data first approach? The code first approach is superior, but most of places I have used data first. In data first, you design the database first, and then you create your entity objects and entity objects from there, and then you populate your business objects from those data objects. In code first you design your business layer and presentation layer, and then database is done in the last. Any questions on this, Aditya?
Yes, sir, this question has been asked very frequently. Code first versus database first.
And most of people are using, I tell honestly, I tell honestly that
Mm.
I was using data first, and most of the time they are using data first approach only.
In our
So
project, I have worked mostly database first approach
database
only.
first, right? In big enterprises, that's what we have existing database,
Mm.
and database schema is first selected, and
Mm.
then you build everything around that.
And it is a bit hard to manage primary key foreign key relationship between by code first approach.
Code first approach. That's good perspective. Object oriented programming. So object oriented programming, one popular question is, what is the difference between interface versus abstract class? And let me show you an example. Hmm. So I'm declaring an interface, iVehicle interface. Let me change to public. So this iVehicle will have two methods. I'm declaring the abstract methods. Start engine. I'm just declaring the signature. Start engine, stop engine. No, I'm creating abstract class. And so I'll just create a, I was looking whether there's abstract class template. There was no abstract class template. So I created class and called it vehicle, changed to abstract class, and I'm going to implement one. I'm just declaring the uh, signature, start engine. And that's the difference. In abstract class, you can have not only the definition, you can also have the implementation. I'm going to implement honk method and have the implementation here. So let's go create a class which will implement the interface iVehicle, and it's going to implement both start engine, stop engine. So God has implemented both methods of iVehicle interface. So let me create another class called motorcycle. So here I'm going to implement the abstract class. So as we can see, interface, just I can declare the signatures of the method, no implementation at all. So there's a car, start engine, iVehicle. Whereas in abstract class, not only uh, I I can have the implementation also. So honk method is coming from the abstract class. I need to take out internal. So here the example of interface and abstract class. So I think object-oriented programming interface is very, very important. Aditya, there was a one time again before Angular and React became popular. If somebody didn't
Mm,
answer me interface,
mhm.
I never hired the guy. And I have lost interviews because I couldn't explain what is the interface. So
Yes,
basically, then what I did, Aditya, as I tell, I crammed up the definition. So the interface is a contract between client and the component, where component exposes its functionality but hides its implementation. See, I still remember that definition.
yes,
So I just to ask Aditya, okay, like a lot of candidates, I used to ask them. So you have declared a pay slips salary component. So you created your classes and interfaces. Should I be coding against interfaces or real classes? So that was a tricky question. If some, I would come to know like person understands the concepts or not. If he said concrete classes, okay, wrong question. But if he said interfaces, okay, I knew he would know what is dependency injection, what are the good design patterns. All design patterns are based on interfaces.
yes,
So like another question is polymorphism. So most of the time I think I was giving half answer. I'll show you polymorphism have two aspects. So most of the time I'll show you another example that will answer the other question is what is the difference between override and overload. I was thinking Aditya, maybe object-oriented programming will have another session, whole session.
yeah. It is very big
Very
topic, and we
it's
have
like
to get
I'm very
uh,
passionate about
more.
object-oriented programming. So let me show you one more coding example.
I would like to love to hear more explanation from your side on this great topic.
So let's see what is polymorphism. So I'm declaring a calculator method, calculator class. So in this, I am having a add method. I don't need other month. So one add method with two parameters. So I can have another function add method for three parameters. I can change the data type instead of int. I can change to double. So let's do in. So this is one polymorphism. They were this is called more design time polymorphism. The function can take many forms. The same function can have two parameters, three parameters. It can return the different data type. take the different data type. So this is the part, Aditya, I used to miss in the interviews.
Yes,
I mostly
this
used to
is kind of
tell.
compile time
So,
polymorphism.
yeah, yes. Compile time polymers.
We know at compile time only what is being passed and what is being returned.
Written. So, so next, now come runtime polymorphism. So I'm creating a animal class. So dog, which inherit animal and overrides the speak method. So in previously we did overloading and now we are overriding.
Mm.
Cat, it also overrides the speak method. So this is a more runtime polymorphism. Animal, it can take dog class and it can take cat object, and it will just work fine. Any questions on object-oriented programming, Aditya?
Yes, sir. I have one question. Maybe in this session or next session we can discuss. And this method overriding concept and method hiding concept. This question is asked very frequently in the interviews, and I have some confusion in it.
Go ahead, ask your question. What is your confusion between overriding and overloading?
Overriding, not overloading. We have in the over in the parent class we have one method we declare with the virtual keyword. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and in the child class we can override that method. Okay,
Yes.
with the new implementation in the
Mm-hmm.
child class. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and in the child class also we don't go for override keyword. We write new keyword, and we can re-implement parent class method.
Mm-hmm.
And the new concept, the new keyword, we use also one new keyword
Mm-hmm.
to re-implement parent class method. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe this, and they say that this is concept of over uh, hiding.
Overloading, right?
So
Override.
people over
Mhm.
hiding with
Hiding.
the new keyword
Hiding. Hiding.
implementation,
Okay.
hiding. Yeah.
Hiding.
Uh-huh.
There's another lot
So
of people. That's
the
good.
difference,
Hiding is another thing. Good one you brought. A lot of
yeah.
people trick you. How we're hiding.
So if we write new keyword, then it the Visual Studio explicitly tells that this is already a intently hided this method.
This one.
Yeah,
We
when we hover on the method, so it tells. So
cool.
we'll have to discuss maybe this session or next session
Sure.
on this.
Sure. We'll have a more that will
Yeah,
be
that
more
is it.
smaller, right? We'll talk about encapsulation, inheritance, everything.
We can have next
Yes.
this next session.
So finally, the database questions. What is cluster index? Cluster index is like index, which is means the it is organized the way the data is stored in the database. So obviously, you can have only one cluster index, and it's the fastest index. So what is foreign keys and unique keys? Foreign keys are basically mm, uh, Foreign keys are the keys which are primary key in some other tables. Become, for example, I'm employee. I can have reportees to me. So I may be primary key, and there must be reportee tables where my ID will be foreign key. Unique key is a potentially primary key, but it's not a primary key. So, but it can be, you can have records, you can have some security numbers, Aadhaar cards that is unique to everybody, but you may not create them primary key. So another question is query analyzer, how you improve can index design. You can use query analyzers. What is the difference between stored procedures and parameterized queries? So stored procedures means are precompiled sequels, but stored procedures have their own problem in the sense you have to maintain the source control. So parameterized queries are they store in the cache. They have good performance. So a lot of people use parameterized queries. So counter columns, if you want to auto generate some column like some primary key in SQL Server, you can use the identity column. User defined function in SQL Server, you can define your own functions. So if you have come to up to this point, Aditya, when I just do interview, you're doing very good. So here I was looking, okay, you have done awesome. So generally you are selected. So here is time to impress me. It's like, so CQRS design pattern. It's a microservices design pattern. So we'll have another session on microservices also, where we'll talk about microservices, all the architecture, all the design patterns related to microservices, related to that. So what is microservices architecture? Microservices architecture is an architecture way where you implement interfaces into small units, small independent units. Instead of building everything in one solution, you develop multiple solutions which cater to some business needs. CQRS is a command query command query segregation design pattern. So basically what you do, you keep the commands different and queries different. That way you can optimize database for query and databases for CRUD operations. What is API gateway? API gateway is like you have microservices, and a lot of microservices must be collaborating to give you functionality. You just call the API gateway, and uh, that call the all the microservices and give you the response to you. What are solid principles? This is very popular question. So solid principles stands for uh, solid principles have five principles. S stands for single responsibility. Each module or method should have single responsibility. O, your component should be open for modification, but open for extensive. Your O is open for
Open for extensible and closed for modifications.
awesome.
So
List
like we
cube.
can create one abstract class or interface
Yes.
go for to achieve this open
Okay, list
principle.
cube. List cube. I think that is list cube is more example of polymorphism, right?
Polymorphisms where
So basically, you have a
object
method.
class can replace
Yeah,
parent class object.
if it takes base class, it should be able to take derived class also. Interface
Yes.
segregation, again, you should not have a big interfaces. You should have small interfaces. D is dependency injection. We covered dependency injection
Yes.
initially. So that, what are the design patterns? Design patterns is another great topic. There was a gang of four people found out that we are solving same problem again and again. So they came up with design patterns. So generally, people give examples, singleton design pattern, some creational design pattern, and finally, what is mocking? Mocking is again a technique of test-driven development. It uses dependency injection also. So basically, you mock some object. You Suppose you are getting some data from database. So you mock the database from the mock the data and write your test to so that you are not tightly coupled to the database or third party interfaces. So that covered our .NET Core sessions. So any final thoughts, Aditya?
It is a great session, sir. Normally, this is a bit longer session than usual, and I did not realize that it is now 80 to 85 minutes past so
Aditya,
quickly.
we closed. I thought it's gonna 2 hours. So, but, Aditya, I believe all professionals we should upgrade ourselves every year. So it's a good. This is a good way of
Yes,
starting new
sir.
year. We upgrade. I was forced to reread a lot of stuff. So so good. We
Yes,
brushed up
sir.
our. I think we brushed up a lot of stuff today, right?
So let's keep one more session on these topics
Sure, sure.
next
Let me know
Sunday,
what
if
yeah,
possible from it.
what would you would like to
We
discuss more?
can
Maybe
dis
like one
discuss
microservices and
uh,
oops, object-oriented programming,
yes, oops questions and microservices. Yes, sir.
microservices, right?
Right.
Uh, sure, sure. We'll do that. So okay, it's a good night. Thank you for joining. Bye bye.
Thank you, sir.